started a strategy's balance sheet for their treasury, but this $208 billion company just announced that they're taking it even a step further, and they're going to start mining Bitcoin. What does that mean for the companies across the world to getting on a Bitcoin standard? I'm going to talk about this and more with my buddy Luke. So Luke, how you doing? And yeah, let's check out this announcement before we get into it.
I'm absolutely pumped. We've got a $208 billion MicroStrategy Copycat. We're not going to tell you who that is, but we are going to play a video of one of their high-up employees breaking a recent announcement at BTC Prague. So let's listen to this one.
True story. I was interviewed for Deutsche Telekom in July 2022. They said, okay, you're taking over the Web3 infrastructure team. You're not allowed to use that word Bitcoin in this interview if you want to get hired. Since 2023, as Joe already said, we are running a Bitcoin node, and we are running Bitcoin Lightning nodes as well. And with a chest full of fucking pride, I like to let you in a little secret. We will engage in digital monetary photosynthesis soon. Thank you very much.
Sir, come back. What does that mean in layman's terms? What is Deutsche Telekom, T-Mobile? What are you doing? What is that last phrase? One more time.
Digital monetary photosynthesis.
So is T-Mobile mining Bitcoin?
We will.
You will. Okay, that is phenomenal.
Well, there you have it, Brandon. I mean, that's the news. Let's find out how big T-Mobile is, because I know a lot of people who might not be in the US might not actually know how big T-Mobile is. So I'd love to find out. Do you know how big they are, Brandon?
I do, Luke. I do. They are $208 billion market cap. So I gave it to you from the beginning. They are an absolute powerhouse. They're one of the top telecom companies in the US. We've got AT&T, we've got Sprint, which I believe is now partnered with T-Mobile. So some of the biggest names ever are using T-Mobile to communicate every single day here in the US. I think it's maybe the second or third largest, but as you can see here, it's $208 billion with millions of users utilizing T-Mobile's service every single day. So Luke, to you, how big is this to you as a non-American, right? I mean, you're seeing this telecom company. You might have heard of T-Mobile a little bit before this, but as an outsider looking in, how big do you think that this is?
Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely massive. $208 billion company. Last week, or maybe yesterday, no, it was yesterday, we were talking about how it was a massive deal that Semler Scientific was buying Bitcoin. And from memory, they're a $221 million market cap company, okay? So they are exactly 1,000 times smaller than T-Mobile, okay? 208 billion versus 223 million, okay? The order of magnitude between a million and a billion is 1,000, okay? Which is huge. It's absolutely massive. So I think T-Mobile adopting Bitcoin in a big way is huge, okay? I think it is nearly as big as it gets. MicroStrategy today has a market cap of, what is it, about, I might actually have a tab here I can share for you guys and show you the MicroStrategy market cap. Okay, maybe I don't. If I do some digging, I reckon I can find it pretty quick though. But from memory, it is like, 20 to 30 billion dollars in market cap. Okay, this is absolutely massive. This is big. Okay, I think I found the Michael Saylor tracker. He's sitting on $14 billion worth of Bitcoin. The company's market cap is a lot bigger.
Yep, I got it up for us in real time. It's 26.06 billion. So it's even 10 times 10 times less than the T-Mobile market cap, which is absolutely phenomenal. But I think there's a huge distinction here, Luke, that we haven't really touched on. They're running Lightning nodes. They're running all kinds of nodes. They're running a Bitcoin node, a Lightning node, and then they're going to start Bitcoin mining. So they're taking it a step further than necessarily having it on the balance sheet, which I think is absolutely huge and cannot be understated. Like the amount of conviction that you have to have in order to mine Bitcoin is wild in itself, and run nodes to do all that. So for a giant company, a giant powerhouse, to be willing to have people on staff to help mine Bitcoin, allocate capital, allocate resources, allocate all this time and energy in order to mine Bitcoin, run Lightning nodes, and run just actual Bitcoin core nodes, I think is absolutely huge too. So not only are we going over the size difference here, right? We have 26 billion of MicroStrategy versus 208 billion of T-Mobile. And in all that, it is also the parent company too. So the parent company is even 6 times larger as well than MicroStrategy with Deutsche Telekom. So I think the amount of conviction that they have is absolutely incredible. But why don't we take it a step back further, Luke, and we talk about this guy, who he is? Because I thought an interesting part of the interview was, at the beginning, he said he couldn't even mention Bitcoin. It was all about Web3, crypto, all that kind of stuff. But now he's fully orange-pilled them and brought the conviction even further. So how big do you think that aspect is of this?
Yeah, so that's really interesting. What did he say? He got interviewed in 2022 for the job, and he wasn't allowed to say the word Bitcoin in the job interview. Now he's orange-pilled a $200 billion company to start mining Bitcoin, okay? Very, very interesting, and it'll be interesting to see whether T-Mobile starts putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet or not, like MicroStrategy has. What do you think? Are the odds high? Are the odds low, Brandon?
I think the odds are almost a guarantee at this point, right? I mean, they're mining it, they're getting Lightning nodes. So I think the interesting part of that is anytime anybody transacts, they'll get a little piece of it. And I think, I've talked with Caitlin Long previously. They think that that's going to be the future of banking, where banks are basically running Lightning nodes to get a little bit, and that's how you're going to get your quote unquote yield when you hold your Bitcoin in that bank. So I think, getting that access and allowing your company to run this kind of breaking technology is just going to be beneficial for telecom companies in the future. And I say, why not, right? I mean, they have all these giant towers all over the globe, right? In places probably have excess power running out of those. It just makes sense. I can't see a place where this doesn't make sense and doesn't help their company in the future. But we alluded to it. Why don't we jump into who this guy really is, man? I mean, Dirk Roeder, did you hear about him before this? Because I sure as didn't. Yeah. But I mean, it seems like he's a true Bitcoiner.
Yeah, never, not once, never heard of the guy before. But as we can see, I mean, there's Bitcoiners infiltrating all sorts of institutions around the world. When you look at his Twitter profile, he just looks like an anonymous pleb. But he is bull posting about Bitcoin conferences on his Twitter profile, which is pretty incredible that just random anonymous people like this on Twitter who look anonymous with, 300 followers have such sway and influence in some of the larger public companies in the world. I think that's really interesting piece of signal to take away from today's video, because a lot of people might be looking around thinking, oh, the normies, my friends, they're never going to adopt Bitcoin. Hyper-Bitcoinization is decades away. But I think we kind of forget just how many very smart, very clued in individuals are, populating the insides of a lot of these public companies.
100%. And yeah, I mean, like we said, T-Mobile, the parent company of T-Mobile, Deutsche Telekom, to mine Bitcoin, adding all of that conviction there, I think is just unbelievable. And I think it's just one small step of, companies putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet. We discussed it last week of all these companies, putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and then their stock prices rising up dramatically. So not only is it a short-term benefit where it gives a lot of exposure to them, and could potentially help their stock price. Obviously not financial advice or anything like that, but in the short term, it will make their investors happy, and in the long term, it will make their investors thrilled, because all these treasury assets, like Michael Saylor has broken down, like, what's better than Bitcoin? There is none. There is no second best. And at this point, it seems like a no-brainer, and all these companies are going to start adopting this strategy. So one small step for T-Mobile, hey, one giant leap for Bitcoin is what I like to look at it as.
Couldn't agree more, brother. Could not agree more. I think the dominoes are tipping this year. Really interesting. We've talked about it a lot on the live streams recently. Metaplanet, We got DeFi Technologies, a Canadian publicly listed company, Semler Scientific, and now we got T-Mobile. These are all dominoes that have fell in the past 2 to 3 months, okay? And these are all big, publicly traded companies adopting Bitcoin. We're not even talking about the Bitcoin ETFs. We're not even talking about the Wisconsin pension fund in America, the ninth largest in America, plowing 160 million big ones into BlackRock's Bitcoin IBIT ETF. We're not even talking about any of that institutional adoption today. We're just talking about a few of the public companies who have adopted Bitcoin. We know that a lot of hedge funds are buying Bitcoin. What is it? 13 out of the world's largest 25 hedge funds have bought some of those Bitcoin spot ETFs. I think if it's 2024, and if you're aware of all of this data of, big boys adopting Bitcoin, and if you're at least not interested in Bitcoin, I don't think there's any saving you.
Amen. And I think, it should be another touch point in making everybody at least a little curious, right? And I think the more touch points that you get, the better, right? I mean, it took me a couple of touch points before I started buying Bitcoin. I wasn't one of those crazy psychopaths that jumped right in, but getting the ability to start learning about Bitcoin and getting all those touch points, I think is absolutely vital. And I think another big aspect of all of this is that, we could take it a step further. All these companies have custodians, right? They have third-party people that are holding their Bitcoin. But you as the individual can empower yourself by buying a foundation wallet and storing it in cold storage yourself. That is the beauty of Bitcoin. And I think that's why you and I push it so much here, Luke. You can use promo code Green Candle. They actually just announced today. I don't know if you saw this, Luke. They just announced today that you could buy Bitcoin directly from your hardware wallet on their Envoy app that they've got great, and it's nice and easy to use. And then you can purchase Bitcoin and send it directly into cold storage. So they got a nice video there, peer-to-peer exchanges, ATMs, and all that kind of stuff. So great stuff. And you can store that with a stamp seed punch plate where, it's on steel titanium. You will not have to worry about potentially losing that seed phrase in a fire or something else. You have it stored, can't even be stolen, like your Google password manager can be hacked into. And then lastly, what's more fun than orange pilling your friends and family to bring them onto this, right? I mean, we're talking about touch points here. Maybe they're a little curious about Bitcoin. Why don't you get some Bitcoin trading cards? I've even got some sitting here for me where, I just actually interviewed Lisa Howe. I talked to her a little bit about these trading cards and how they can be used to orange pill your friends and family. So Luke, you got anything for me?
I don't. I just think it's really important to always, drive that point home, Brandon. We talk a lot about the Bitcoin ETFs. We talk a lot about big uncle Larry Fink. And, there's a lot of hype surrounding these Bitcoin ETFs. We talk a lot about the Bitcoin ETFs on, on my personal channel as well. But it's always good to remind people, that is not the revolution. Just number go up is not the revolution. It is taking self-custody, putting Bitcoin into your own custody. So obviously, Foundation, one of the greatest Bitcoin-only hardware wallets in the space. And that's interesting as well. A lot of people get a hardware wallet or even a phone wallet, and they think they're safe. They, think they're secure. This was me in like 2018, 2019. I got myself a Ledger, and boy, did I thought I was safe at the time with my Ledger. I was thinking my keys are off the exchange. I am set. But my seed words were written on paper. So this is where I think it's really important that, you've got the support of Stamp Seed and Foundation here on the channel, and you're guiding the listeners to the two-step punch to actually looking after your Bitcoin. First step, get it off an exchange, put it in a Bitcoin-only hardware wallet. Foundation ticks that box. But then a lot of people forget about the second step. You got to actually put your seed words in steel. If you get a house fire or a flood, or let's even assume your dog finds your seed phrase words on a piece of paper, it's gone. Your generational wealth is gone. So again, I think what we've got going on here is a very interesting little setup. And if anyone thinks it's hard, it's really not that hard at all. Reach out to us and we can help you out with it.
Yeah, 100%. And it's, that's the revolution. As you said, Luke, get your Bitcoin off of an exchange, and you could even purchase some Bitcoin depending on where you're at and send it directly into cold storage. So they make it super nice and easy for you, and hammer that home. And then lastly, have some fun with Bitcoin, support some of the Bitcoin artists, and get some of your Bitcoin, get yourself some Bitcoin trading cards. They're always fun to play around. And lastly, too, we do have a great interview that we dropped yesterday that I encourage the listeners to go and check out as well. Stay on the channel and check out the latest interview I had with Pierre Richard, where it was some great stuff about Bitcoin mining, what's going on in that space, some of the revolution taking place, and Trump's Bitcoin strategy. President Trump is now speaking on Bitcoin, so a lot of interesting stuff going on in this space. So be sure to check that out, and follow Luke and I on socials to keep interacting with the hosts here. And we've got more content coming for you soon.
Yes, stay tuned. I think we're going to be dropping a Freddy Krueger interview here on the channel tomorrow. So keep your eye out for that one. That's going to be a firecracker. I loved your chat with Fred Brandon. So if you're here, you're watching, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that one tomorrow. It should be a banger.
Awesome stuff. All right. Catch you guys at the next one.